Hey everybody, welcome to episode 15 of the Identity Love podcast. I'm Tracy Konane. I'm a life coach and identity specialist for folks who are recovering partner and people pleasers and who want to learn how to fully be themselves so they can actually love themselves and enjoy being who they really are. I'm excited about this one because this is something that is really like the core of what I do, what I love doing. I know I've been talking a lot about you being art. Being yourself is an art. And I wanted to make it clear that, yes, I mean it in the capital A sense, like art, like, yes, because you're a human and you're alive in this world, you're a work of art. Yes, I do mean that. But what I also more importantly mean is art with a lowercase a. Meaning the process of the art, the part where you come in and you have these messy bits and you feel like the bits of trash that I talked about in the episode where I said the art of being yourself is seeing yourself as all these things that you can put together and create something new with, and all the figuring out and the exploring and the part where you don't know what you're doing and you're making mistakes and you're taking chances and getting messy. That's Miss Frizzle. Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. And this is what I always see with the people I work with, my amazing clients. They come to me and they have this very serious attitude. So what I mean is that, and I did this too. This was totally me. I was so serious. I would go to the library. I worked in the library for many years, the public library, and I would check out all these self-help books and read them and take notes on them. And I would look up how to be a good partner, how to be responsible, how to fix all these flaws within myself, how to be more extroverted, how to be more of somebody who has charisma, how to get ahead in life, all the things that I wanted to fix within me so I am this person that is amazing for everybody. And be very serious. And this is what I see in all of my clients. They've done the therapy, they've gone to the counseling, they've done the spiritual work, they know their human design, their astrological chart. They have done all these searchings and fixings and adjustings. And that is beautiful, amazing. I love that. And in fact, there's nothing more that I love more than someone who's coming to me while they've done so much work in therapy and they're still in therapy. I think that's beautiful because I do work that can be therapy-ish, but I am definitely not a therapist and I do not go back and work through all the heavy stuff that you might have that might be preventing you from being yourself. So it works beautifully if you're already doing it. So the thing about this is when we are taking ourselves seriously and learning our art technique, right? Just like if you are a painter, you have to learn the technique and how to mix the colors and how to do the brush strokes. And you learn from the greats. You reproduce paintings. You watch how your teacher and mentor do it. And you learn from that and you experiment and you make mistakes and you learn. And you're very serious about getting this technique down, discovering what you're capable of. So when I'm saying all this, I am not bashing any of the serious stuff because I love it myself. It got me so far in life and I've seen everyone go so far in their own lives because they took themselves seriously, their self-work seriously. These people that work with me, they are not dabblers. They don't just read a self-help book and be like, okay, I read that. Let me see if my life changes now. They read the self-help book and they apply it. They notice all the ways they're doing it. They work on their mindset. They work on their emotions. They're very self-aware. They're very serious about making changes in their life. Beautiful. Love it. That's what it's like to be an artist in your life, is you're actively trying to create better and better versions of yourself. Beautiful. So now, once you've gone to the side where it's a little too serious, right? Because, okay, so what usually happens then is either you come to a point where you say, all right, I feel like I've gotten a grasp on myself. Now I have the mindset, let's move forward and things are fine. But if you're listening to this, you are probably the one who kept going to an extreme. You kept trying to fix and fix and fix and fix and be very, very serious about whittling away parts of yourself where you try to either be just like the master that you're learning from, so to speak, where you're trying to make your art just as good or just to the liking or exactly what other people want, right? The art critics, the patrons, we're going through life trying to just create art for other people to automatically give us approval and say, yes, you're doing it right. And this is when we lose ourselves. We feel like we're not expressing ourselves in our lives the way that feel like us. So here's what happens. When you come to me and you've done all this work, I come in and I say, okay, our work together is going to involve relaxing and not taking ourselves so seriously. We're going to do some serious work here. Trust me, we're going to do some serious work, but it's going to involve fun and play and basically doing all the naughty things that we think are bad and wrong, that we try to hide, that we try to fix, that we think we cannot show to everybody else. We're trying to find ourselves, but we're blocking ourselves because the moment that we start to think about the version of ourselves that we would love to be and the things that really light us up inside from a soulful place, the moment that we think about these things, we automatically think of all the people that we've been trying to please all these years and how we think that there is still this one right way to be. And so we negate all of that stuff. People say, I like this. This lights me up. There's this, and this. And then after that, after I see their eyes sparkle and after I see their body lift up and have this physical change in their appearance, where you can tell that this is something that really lights them up and it makes them feel amazing and alive. After they do all that, they slump down a little bit and I see their face fall because they've come back to reality in their head and they say, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense, or I don't see how that's going to help me, or something that implies that they think that it is not important. And then they go back to saying, yeah, so I just got to figure out how to just stay true to myself and figure out who that is. And this is when I say, wait. Do you see how you're blocking yourself? Do you see how you told me all these cool things about yourself that made you light up from the inside out? Literally, like I see a physical change in your body and your energy when you're telling me this. And then you automatically shove it under the rug. You erase it. You act like none of that matters and you suppress it. And doing that is the exact same thing that we've been doing to ourselves while people pleasing all these years. Shoving bits of yourself under the rug so your partner doesn't see. Putting all these preferences and interests and expressions aside to try to be something more for your partner, to try to please them. Us pushing all these things that light us up from the inside under the rug is what we've been doing for years. So what I'm here to do is to stop you from automatically writing these things off. We're going to stay in this place where you are lit up and your eyes are sparkly and like the little shaky anime eyes. That is where it's at. And I know, I know that you're probably thinking, okay, so maybe these people have some cool stuff that's going on behind the scenes that light them up. But me, I'm weird. And there's things about myself that if I told you about them, you'd probably laugh. The stuff that I'm into is so silly and maybe a little embarrassing and doesn't matter that much. It's just this little thing that I do over here. And I don't think like if you talked to me, it wouldn't actually be anything all that amazing or insightful. You're just going to be like, oh, really? That's what you have going on? Oh my God. No, you need to stick to finding the right way. This is how we all feel. We all feel like someone else has it more figured out than us. Okay, so notice when you are doing this. I'm going to give you an example. I love this so much. So I have a client who, when he came to me, it was the usual thing where he was in a marriage and it's been 5 years. And when they got married, she was the only one in his life where he felt like really accepted him, really loved him, could really actually understand him. He just latched onto that because he never knew how to express himself throughout his life. He never knew how to feel right around his buddies or while growing up. So when he found her and they had this connection together, he just made everything about her because it was everything he'd been wanting. He's like, she gets me. She understands me. And so when they got their house, he said, oh, decorate it however you want. This is all for you. Don't worry about me. I'm just a dude. Like the garage, I can tinker in my garage. I got all my tools set up. Don't worry about me. And long story short, they're doing like some foster kid programming. So their house, now that he's trying to be more of himself and find himself, he found that he doesn't have a place in the house that feels like him, where he can't see himself. And even when he's in his garage with all his tools and stuff, he feels like it doesn't light him up. It feels like he's just the handyman of the household or something. So he's like, yeah, I don't know what to do. He's like, I feel this need to have a space that feels like me, but I don't know where to do it because she loves how our bedroom is. And I really don't want to mess up all her hard work. And she has such an eye for aesthetics and it's beautifully done. And he's like, I'm genuinely not trying to partner please her, but I want it to stay the same because I love all the intention that she put into it. And so I said, okay, listen, it's not a problem. Let's just suspend our disbelief really quickly and imagine a situation in any shape or form with the house that you have now, whether it's like a tiny piece of a corner or in the closet or just something, a table. What can you imagine it looking like if you did have this space for yourself that is fully you? Just imagine, look, there's no rules here. Don't worry about what she would think. Don't worry about if it would make sense to the rest of the house. Just imagine what would actually feel good for you in the house. And he's like, oh, okay. So if there was no rules and we're just playing around, I would like to make my half of the garage, which is just all my stuff. I would like to make that into like a man cave, but not a man cave. Like he kept saying man cave, but he kept saying not man cave. So I said, wait, okay. So you kept saying man cave, right? And I could see his eyes light up when he said man cave, but then he would immediately dim it when he's like, well, but it's not a man cave. So I said, okay, there's something here. This man cave is important because I see the sparkles in your eyes. What is it about it being a man cave that makes you self-conscious, that makes you say, well, not like a man cave? He's like, well, I'm not one of those dudes who's just like a dude bro who wants a Budweiser sign and like the girl in an American flag bikini calendar on the wall and just like whiskey bottles everywhere and sports on the TV. He's like, I'm not that kind of dude. He's like, so I don't think I actually do want a man cave. I was like, wait a minute. If it's not a man cave, right? If that triggers you, if that makes you think of some dude that doesn't feel like you, what would your cave be called? Would it even be called a cave? Would it be a dude room, like your kind of room? What would it be? And he said, well, he's like, okay, if there's no rules, I'm like, yeah, anything goes here. This is your simulation of the world. You can do whatever you want with this piece of the garage. And he said it would be intergalactic and spacey. And I was like, a space cave? He's like, yes, a space cave. And he was so lit up. His eyes were just big baubles, right? And I said, okay, amazing. Tell me what would be in this space cave. And he told me all this stuff about how he has always loved certain types of science fiction, but it's not like Star Wars science fiction. It's like vintage kind of science fiction, and how he loves constellations and how he would want to have one of those constellation globes that project realistic constellations on the ceiling. And he would have it painted like a sky, like a night sky inside, and maybe with glow in the dark stars. And it would feel like an alien intergalactic space cave where he could put his science fiction books, where he felt creative and where he could see all this inspiring stuff and think about nerdy space stuff. That's what he wanted. This is what he told me. And he was glowing. He was sparkling. Like I could see the sparkles coming off his freaking soul from the inside out. And I said, this is pure gold. This is amazing. And I said, hold this. Do not go anywhere. Keep telling me about this. We made some Pinterest boards. I took all the notes. And then I said, why can't you do this? And he's like, I guess there's nothing stopping me, except for maybe it might seem weird to my wife. And he's like, I know I'm not supposed to think that, but I can't help but just thinking we're so compatible, but she doesn't like the whole sci-fi thing. And I'm like, yeah, this is why you're having your own space cave for it, right? So it's not all up in the rest of the house. She has a whole house for herself. This is your own space cave where this is for you. And he's like, well, isn't it kind of weird that I'm like this guy who is a responsible person who has an upstanding job and is a serious person who works hard in life, who has this glow in the dark space cave in his garage? And I said, that's not weird at all. That's the most amazing thing I've ever freaking heard in my entire life. And he's like, oh, okay, so that's not like something wrong with me, like I'm stuck in childhood or I have some weird stunted growth. And I was like, why? He's like, because it's glow in the dark stars. That's what teenagers do. And I was like, but you're doing it because you love the cosmos, because you love science fiction, because this is stuff that makes you feel alive inside. Do you love your science fiction books? He's like, yes, that's the only time I remember getting lost in it. And maybe I'll even start getting back to writing science fiction again. And I was just like, this is so important. Do you understand how this is so important? How this is the most mature, responsible thing you could do for yourself, because you will feel more seen and alive in your own life when you go into this space cave. And it doesn't have to be this teenagery thing. It doesn't matter if there's glow in the dark stars. It's how you set it up. If you have your bookshelf over here, if you have your writing desk over here, you have your tools laid out. Even if you have your vintage figurines on the shelf, you can make it look very polished. You can make it however you want, as long as you love it, as long as you feel like you are reflected back into yourself when you're in this space. I know that you're going to worry if your wife walks in there and has thoughts that you're not sure of, or if your friends come over and they're like, dude, what is this? Right? But we have to get very sturdy and certain on why you're doing it. So we made a whole list of why he liked doing it, how it made him feel, how it made total sense to him, because he didn't have a place for his books in the house, because his wife's collection was so curated on the bookshelf. He felt like his little ratty paperback novels looked awful on there. So it made total sense to have it in his space cave. How the glow in the dark stars made him think of how he felt as a teenager and how it made him dream more, and how it would help him write more of his creative stories, how it would get him back into maybe the science fiction, underground niche culture, and create more of a space for him to explore that, because he's dropped off for years. He hasn't gone and looked at all that stuff for a long time, and how it will help him feel more energized and be better for his wife, for his foster children, for his job, because he has this thing that is his, and it will make him feel so much more seen and confident because he's doing this for himself. So we made it make total sense. Remember, be inexplicable, nuanced, and distinct. I'm pointing to the sign that I keep on my wall behind me. Inexplicable. He's just like, I just like the glow in the dark stars, right? It doesn't make any sense except for to him, as long as it makes sense to him. We made sure it made sense. Nuanced, distinct. It's like he likes the sci-fi. He likes the certain aesthetic. So we had to make sure that it felt amazing to him. And then he went forth and was his weird, fully expressed self. He didn't do the entire half of the garage that he was planning, but he made a section that was like a quarter of it, a little room. He put a door and everything, and then he put the black lights, he put the constellations. It changed who he was. He was finally creating something in his life that made him a distinct person. When I first saw him, he was very, I don't want to say bland. It wasn't bland. He was just very normal. And he was trying to figure out who he was and how to just be himself, but he wasn't excited at the idea of being himself because the only self that he knew when he wasn't partner pleasing was this kind of uncomfortable self. He was uncomfortable with who he was because he wasn't allowing himself to expand and express himself as this sci-fi, cosmic, alien interested guy who was also this totally responsible, amazing dad, amazing husband, all that stuff. And he couldn't fathom that it could actually go together. He's like, I either have to be this weirdo or I have to be this people-pleasing person. And I said, no, you have to take the weirdness and incorporate it into yourself. And so this is the art, and nobody else understands it, but you're going to change because for the first time, you're allowing yourself to be yourself, to make sense of yourself, and to prioritize yourself and to let yourself be expressed. And oftentimes it's going to feel weird. Here, let me give you a visual. This, if you're looking on YouTube, you'll see it. This is a garbage truck that was this beat up. It's missing an antenna here. It doesn't work. It was this dirty trash truck that I bought on eBay for more than I should have paid. But I had this vision where I wanted to decotora it, which is these gaudy, flashy, amazing trucks in Japan. Like they take these semi trucks and they turn it into this thing that looks like Las Vegas on the truck. It's amazing. It lights my soul up. And I wanted to decotora my own trash truck. It had to be a garbage truck and it had to be used and it had to be so ugly that no kid would want to play with it. And I wanted to bedazzle the shit out of it. And I did. And I keep it on my desk. It has my initials on it. This made no sense to anybody else. This makes no sense. This is ridiculous, right? I spent so much time on this. And whenever I look at this, it makes my soul feel alive. I could do a whole podcast explaining to you why. But right now, just know that it makes total sense to me. And it makes me feel like me when I look at it. And I love it. And it brings joy in my life. And it was so fun to create it. This is how I fortify myself and how you fortify yourself. Even if someone's like, what the heck? That's weird. Why would you do that? Because it already makes so much sense and feels so good to you already, it doesn't bother you. You're just like, okay, you don't understand. It's okay. I understand. So this is you. This is me. You know, there's so many layers here, but we're the trash and we make it into something amazing. We don't try to make it into something it's not. It's still this trash truck, but it's freaking fabulous trash truck. Okay. So even the most like simplest things. I remember I had someone where she was so self-conscious because she had a lot of artsy fartsy friends who knew a lot about interior design because her husband did that stuff. And so when people came over their house, when she had guests over, she got really cringy about the rug that she had on the ground that looked cool, but it was from Target, and the stuff on the shelves that were from Ross, because she was so petrified that someone was going to ask her, oh my God, where'd you get this from? I love this. What is this? And she would have to tell them that she got it from just shopping at Ross. And she couldn't fathom having this identity where she has these artsy friends and she loves design, but she likes to browse. She likes to hunt, and she doesn't have anything in mind, but she just likes to find items that surprise her and get a good deal and just be surprised. She said she spends hours doing that. She's like, I'm embarrassed that I don't have a Pinterest board where I have a perfect vision and I just go online and I find the perfect couch and I just design everything just like how I see it in my head. She's like, I feel bad. I'm there for hours just with my head in the clouds, looking at things, waiting to feel inspired, browsing thrift stores. She said, I just feel like that's not right. Like I shouldn't just be slacking off and wasting time browsing. But when she said it, she was lit up about how she loved looking at each thing and taking her time. She said it's the break from the norm. It's like her stress relief. And she was telling herself that this was weird and bad because she was supposed to be this polished professional designer person. And so what we did was we made it make sense to her. I said, do you see how when you're browsing, how do you feel after? How do you feel when you found that one thing from Ross in the clearance section that you never would have found otherwise unless you were browsing for 5 hours? And she said, it feels like I found the treasure. She said, I feel like how I felt when I was Easter egg hunting when I was young and there was that one golden egg and I was the only one who would look long enough to find it. And I feel like I found this special thing that had this special treat inside. And I said, that is magical. That means it means something special to you. And even though this sounds like you're slacking off or avoiding life or something like that, I asked her, are you really? Like, are you not showing up in your life in a responsible way? She said, no, it's just how I blow off steam. And I said, that is amazing. And that is part of your art of being yourself, is that you need to enjoy the hunt. You need to enjoy trusting it, that there is that magical thing out there and you're going to find these pieces. And so when your guests come over, you don't have to say, oh, that was just from Ross. I found it in the clearance bin. You tell them, oh my goodness, this is so special because I love to browse. I love the hunt. It feels like an Easter egg hunt. And when I saw this, the reason why I was drawn to it was that it was marked down and people passed it by. And I found this and I love the way it looks. I love that I got it at a good deal. All this stuff. That is what lit her up. And I'm like, that's what you're supposed to tell them. You don't have to tell them that it was this cheap thing from this discount store. You tell them what makes you feel good inside and why you're doing it. And she said, oh my God, I can't believe I never thought of that. And I said, it's okay. It's because we are so blocked from years and years and years of trying to think, how am I supposed to be right for these other people? It's okay. So this is what I help you do, is I help you to look at all these things that you think are bad about you, no matter how shitty it seems. I remember I coached somebody where she was embarrassed because she had all these books that she would buy from Amazon and they were stacked on her bed stand and it looked like she was this well-read person. And she said, I just never finish any of them. I keep buying them because I read the sample and then I read the first few chapters and then like I didn't finish any of them. She's like, I'm so awful. I don't know. Am I a hoarder? And I said, well, did you enjoy getting those books and reading the samples? She said, yeah. And I was like, do you enjoy having these books if you don't think about how you didn't finish them? And she's like, well, I kind of like how they're there and how I can come back to them when I feel like I'm reminded of them and I can go browse certain chapters, which I do. Yeah, it's only just that I think that I'm supposed to be finishing all these books. And I said, what if your style of being yourself in this moment, this can change in the future because we're meant to change. We're always going to change. But who you are right now in this iteration of yourself, of your identity, this version of yourself likes to find the little nuggets of the beginning of the book and get the gist of the book and then move on to something else. You're exploring, you're getting little nuggets and you're getting this amazing book collection. This is you. Like, what if you don't have to finish all these books? And she said, oh my God. She's like, that's okay. And I said, yeah, that's totally fine. I don't think there's any rule in the universe that says, if you're going to buy the book, you have to finish the entire thing and know exactly what was inside of it. I do similar things. I just read the chapters that I think I want to learn about in nonfiction. And then I put it aside, but I still got something from it. And I don't make it mean that somehow I did that wrong. Right? It's all the way you're thinking about it. And she's like, yeah, I guess I always thought back to third grade where my teacher got mad at me because I never finished the book and we're supposed to finish the book if you're writing the essay on it. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense for third grade. That makes sense for school. But as an adult, if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to have the identity of somebody who has to finish these books. And these little things that seem so insignificant all add up to allowing ourselves to be more of this thing that is special. And the reason why we feel upset in our lives and restricted and frustrated and unappreciated and angry and sad and stuck is because we're trying to be something that we're not, which is right for somebody else. And we have to be all these things. We have to learn how to make art with these things that we think don't matter or that somehow make us bad. And let me tell you, there's even things that people bring to me, and we're all good people, right? Because we're partner pleasers. We've been trying to please other people. We're all good people, but they bring to me these things that they think sound dark or bad or not politically correct, where they're just like, oh, she's like, I can't stand certain things that they're talking about here. And I know I'm not supposed to feel that way. And I said, it's okay. Let's talk about this. Why do you feel upset about this? And she's like, what do you mean it's okay? There's people who would hate me if they found out what I was saying. And I was like, well, it's coming from you. This is coming from a part of yourself. It doesn't make you a bad person. You're allowed to feel frustrated about different things. It doesn't mean that you're hating the world or like you're a bad person just because you have feelings and thoughts that don't completely go along with just one set way of thinking. And she said, oh my God, that makes me feel so good. Like she said she was almost going to cry because she's been judging herself so much about being right and all these different judgments and things and getting canceled and all this stuff. It really stops us from being our true selves and finding out how to be ourselves in a way that incorporate all these different things into something special. If you work with me, I tell you how you can take this anger within you, the things that you feel like you can't tell anyone else because you're afraid that they're going to get mad at you or they're not going to understand. You can tell me, I am here to be open to all the messiness, to all the emotions. The whole point of this is that it's a playroom. You get to play and express your own identity. And I say, hey, this is important and meaningful. I don't judge you for it. I don't say, oh my God, you're saying that. I say, hey, why do you feel this way? Make sense of it. The reason why my client was saying all these things that she was afraid to say to everyone else is because she felt like, because she didn't have something horrible happen to her in her childhood, she felt like she wasn't allowed to have trauma. She said, well, I feel like everyone's allowed to have trauma except for me. And I said, okay, so this is what it is. It's not that you have this bad belief where you're against equality or people or anything like that. It's that you have this need to feel like you deserve to have stuff wrong with you too. Like, that sounds weird, but this is not trauma comparison. This is not bad childhood comparison. You're allowed to have trauma, even if everything was, in comparatively speaking, like good in your life. And once we worked on that and I let her feel like she could be that, and she could express herself without being judged, we were able to make art of it. We take what you have, what you've been currently working with, everything that life gave you, how you feel inside, and we say, what are we going to create because of this? Not in a way that is right for someone else, but in a way that makes you more of who you want to be. And that is so special and empowering and does wonders for your self-esteem, your self-love, because you see your own identity. You're no longer judging it and saying, oh my God, it's a mess. You see the wisdom behind it. You see and understand yourself because of it, and you make sense of it. And then you can turn it into something that feels good to you. And that is unlike anything else, to be seen for who you really are and being told that you're not wrong. You are not wrong for the way that you feel, the things you're into. You are an amazing person. You're a good person. If you've been people pleasing and giving your identity away to please others, you are such a good-hearted person. And you are nuanced. So there's going to be all kinds of weird stuff inside of you, all kinds of feelings and thoughts. And that's fine. In fact, it's amazing. I find it so interesting. When I started doing this, when I started to just go with the weirdness that I had in my soul that made no sense to anyone else, I started to feel more like myself. I can't explain it other than the more that you do stuff that makes you feel like you while making it make perfect sense to yourself, it is empowering. Because after years of worrying and trying to make it make sense to everyone else, and you're this interesting, unique person, you have to start letting it out. You have to start doing it for yourself. And if you need help with this, send me a DM. I help you with this. I help you go through an entire year, because the thing is, you're going to come to me with one thing and we're going to help you on it. And we're going to figure out who you're going to be because of it, who you really are, all the specialists inside of you. And then things are going to happen throughout the year where you're going to be like, wait a minute, now what do I do? We work through each thing, and with each thing that you face and use your own identity as art to face it, and you go forth through that thing as the person you want to be, you gain the confidence and you start to understand with each thing that there is an art to it. You understand how it works. So you have the entire experience of going through an entire year's ups and downs and weird problems and things you never expected was going to happen. And you will see all the examples of how you're going to be this creative, artistic version of yourself for each one, and how much better life works when you're doing that. You have to see the whole journey and how it works to get the full transformation. So that's what I do for you. Have an amazing week. Be weird. I'll talk to you on the next episode. Bye.